This is Coach Prasick, and I am enjoying my Maestro DMX that I've had for less than 1 week, and wanted to just go over a challenge that I had getting mine set up correctly. And maybe you won't have this problem, but if you don't get this part right, you're seriously compromising the performance of your Maestro and the experience that you and your users and your attendees to your gig will get. And it's all about gain staging. So what I've done is I've got my Maestro connected. Oops, sorry about that, folks. We'll get to the music in a minute. Ideally, or here's the way I do it, is I'm just going to adjust the gain during musical silence until I barely see a flicker in the pre-gain level. Let's just dial it up a little bit. Okay, there I'm starting to get some noise out of my board. Okay, so I'm just bringing it down until I barely see a indication of a flicker right there, like that. And when I do that, it seems to be gain staged about right. Let me play some music. Okay. Now you'll notice I have down here 2-line inputs. What it's connected to right now is the USB input. I'm coming straight out of my board, USB output into the Maestro. And even though it says line input, sometimes it'll show the label of the USB output, sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't matter, as long as you can figure it out. But look what happens when I switch to the RCA inputs on the back of the Maestro. Wow, look at all that noise. Well, let me turn everything down on the board, okay? Folks, I am at absolute zero. And look at all the activity. Look at the activity over here. There will never be a music-based blackout of your lights when you've got a noise floor like that. So right now I'm connected to basically to the headphone out. Okay, I'll disconnect it and it goes away. So plugging my phones back in, and yes, I've tried connecting it to the tape out, RCA outputs of the board. I've tried the control room 1/4-inch jacks. I've tried the headphones jacks. I've tried the 1/4-inch sub outs. I've tried the main outs. I've tried the aux 1 out, the aux 2 out, the FX out, and nothing works for me except the USB output. Now that raises some questions about, well, gee, that's not really workable, is it? Because the USB output is tied directly to the main output on my board, which is a Behringer X2222 USB. So in other words, if I get let me put it back here, if I get gain staged correctly here, the volume on the front of house speakers is fixed. I cannot change that. That's not good, because if I want to turn the music up, now I'm clipping the Maestro. If I want to turn the music down, the Maestro isn't getting enough sample to do a good job. So what did I do? Well, there is a device, and there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but here's how I did it. Sorry about that. Here's how I did it. Behringer makes a little device. It is a legacy product. In other words, they're not making this anymore, but I got one before they ran out. Hopefully they'll come up with something new. But you'll see you can plug your any line level output, such as the main out of my board in my case, and the far 2 left knobs basically adjust the input sensitivity and the gain of that, and then it will distribute that to 6, actually 8, but directly controllable on the front panel. You've got 6 discrete controls over the output, and the main input would be your left and right. So I've got the main input, left and right, and then output number 1, I would have it panned all the way to the left. Output number 2, I have panned all the way to the right. and then they go downstream to my speakers, my front of house speakers. There's even more you can do. I would love to spend 10 more minutes talking about this device, but that's beyond the scope of this video, so I'll spare us the thing. Before I leave, one other thing. Notice the kick drum detection sensitivity level down here. You need to get that dialed in real good, but you may already know this, but if you don't have any bass in your EQ, I'll play a little sample with it set straight up. You'll see. So you'll notice the kick drum detection was working as we would expect. I'm going to trim the bass on my EQ all the way down. Let's resample and watch the kick drum. No kick drum. I'm going to bring the bass back up to its normal position. Another sample. You might have already known that, but in case, just be aware that when you are adjusting the EQ on your board, it will impact, it may not impact your gain staging much, but it sure will impact the kick drum detection on the Maestro. So I hope you found something in there that was useful to you, and I hope that you are not having the problems that I have had on the RCA inputs. Maybe I just got a bad board, maybe I've just got a bad Maestro, but I was able to work around it. But I did want to discuss the importance of gain staging and how it impacts. You can be doing everything right in your Maestro. If you're not gain staged right, you have compromised the work that you're doing. Trying to do a good job, you've got to get the foundation first.